home with Patti Vasquez.
Hi, I hope that you are all having a lovely Monday. It is a spectacular day, weather-wise in Chicago. Sunny and 50 degrees and warm yesterday. We've got a couple of warm days, so I hope that you're able to get out and enjoy it, go for a walk, maybe take in some sunshine. I think Wednesday is going to be 60 and rainy. And I say these things about our lovely weather in light of the horrific tragedies of the weekend. I am heartbroken for those who have lost their homes and of course have lost loved ones in Kentucky and the 6 warehouse workers in Edwardsville at the Amazon warehouse. We are going to talk to someone from the warehouse justice workers, and they're going to Tommy Caraden's going to join us at 5:30 to talk about the safety of warehouse workers, both Amazon and other companies. What steps are taken to make sure that they are safe? There's a lot of stories going around about whether or not workers are allowed to have their cell phones with them. Would they have gotten an alert? I will tell you, of course, in the Chicagoland area, we've had times when the sirens go off and you're told to seek shelter, and sometimes we don't pay attention because it happens so often. You're like, nothing bad really has ever happened. And if you watch Tom Skilling, you know that really in Chicago, it's not a matter of if, but when we are going to, your area might be hit with a tornado. And we have in the last few years been more conscientious about seeking safety, whether it's in our basement or if we're traveling, making sure we're aware of our surroundings. So please take that into consideration when you think about what would you do in an emergency? What do you do when the sirens go off? When you hear that there's a warning or a watch, it's about being alert. And I years ago, after the tornadoes in Joplin, Missouri, there was a bar that wanted to bring laughter back to Joplin, Missouri, about 3 months after the tornadoes hit, and over 200 people died in that tornado. And it was me and comedian April Macy went in, and it was one of the most memorable nights of my life, of my career. We came into town, and it was devastating to see block after block of absolutely decimated communities. And you could see where the tornado would just strike, completely annihilate one strip of homes, and then right next door a home that wasn't even touched, and the randomness with which obviously the nature strikes and creates this havoc and just complete tragedies. And what will always stay with me was after the show, we were in the bar area, and there were a lot of folks getting having conversations, and some of them were telling us what they had gone through. And this gentleman in about maybe his 50s or 60s came over to tell me in April how much he enjoyed the show, how good it was to laugh again, and we were talking to him for a moment. He's like, "Well, I gotta go. I'm waiting for my daughter to pick me up." And a young person came over and said his daughter had actually been killed in the tornado, and he was hanging out with them to still have a part of her with him every day. She was killed in their driveway in her car. She was trying to get home. So I think about that story and the tragic loss of life for everyone, for folks who just went to work or went to bed or were going on with their lives. And we really need to think about how we keep each other safe. So I just thought about that today, and my hearts go out to all the family members. And again, we will talk about the safety of the Amazon warehouse and what steps were taken to make sure that those, not just in those moments, but in the construction of the warehouse, were there precautions taken in an area that is vulnerable to tornadoes and extreme weather? And I'm curious about that. What do you do when you know that there's going to be perhaps heavy winds? Just over the weekend, just a little bit of levity for you. I saw in the neighborhood groups, somebody posted, "Hey, if anyone sees my inflatable snowman on Northwest Highway, let me know, because he blew away in the winds on Saturday morning." So it was gusty in Chicago, but nothing like what's gone on in other parts of the country. So 773-763-9278. That's 773-763-WCPT, if that's an easier way for you to remember, as Joan mentioned, to join our conversation, because this is your conversation. And again, we'll talk to Tommy Caraden from the Warehouse Justice Workers in just a little bit to talk about their perspective and also to help raise money for those who have been affected by this disaster. And I also want to talk a little bit. I should have asked for the audio, but I don't know if anyone caught one of the Fox reporters. Was it Doocy? I have to make sure that I don't say the wrong word, because obviously people are using a different pronunciation and putting an H in there. But he was asking press secretary for the White House, Jen Psaki, how the president felt that the arsonist who lit fire to their $500,000 Christmas tree has been released on bail, and also that pickpockets and other people have been released on bail. And he said, oh, is this what it's considered governing? And I thought, these are the same people that refuse to cooperate in the January 6th investigations. They are more concerned about property than they are about a democracy. It's appalling to me that we even have to take that she has to take questions like that about a burning Christmas tree. Of course, it's destruction of property, and yes, the person should be held accountable, and yes, we should also be paying for mental health services so that people who feel compelled to do these things have treatment. Don't get me started, Steve from the Gold Coast. Maybe I'm supposed to get started. How are you doing today, Steve?
Fine. And I just wanted to add something with regard to the whole question about, say, for instance, the Amazon warehouse. And I think it's a tragedy. And I think we can look forward to more of this, obviously, in terms of, climate change, because this is the kind of extreme weather events that we're seeing that are unusual. We'll break a record this week in Chicago. This coming Wednesday, a couple of weeks from Christmas, we're going to be in the 60s.
Yep.
You have to turn on your air conditioner. So obviously, we're going to see extremes. And this is exactly the kind of extremes that generate these kinds of weather events. So we're going to have this warmth coming up from the south, and it's going to collide with, the weather, the kind of fronts that we see coming down from Canada and the Arctic. And obviously, it's abnormal, but, it's part and parcel of the phenomenon that is global climate change. Now, at the same time, when you build warehouses, you're not going to build Fort Knox. The whole purpose of a warehouse is just simply to be a sort of a staging point where you could bring things in and take them out. And, they're these gigantic facilities of people who have never seen them. They're huge. They're almost like small cities. So if you were to build them to be sort of tornado-proof, God knows what the expense would be on something like that. And so I agree. I think we need to keep people safe, but at the same time, you don't build a building for something that happens once in 50 years. Possibly.
Well, you can also have a tornado shelter, or you can have a plan in place. I don't think that I agree with you. You're right.
Yeah, we could build cars that are almost entirely safe, and then it would cost $100,000, to buy. But, so there's always a compromise. We can't child-proof the world, for everyone as much as we would like to. But I do think that employers, especially someone like Amazon, that they can afford the extra dollar or two here or there to keep their employees safe. Right. And I don't think there's anything wrong with demanding that. But they're not going to do it because they're out of the goodness of their heart. It's going to have to be mandated to be public policy. And that means the people you vote for matter in terms of what policies they pass that govern Amazon.
Right. Well, and look, I used to work in the John Hancock, and I worked at the Tribune Tower for years. And I would say once or twice a year, we would have a fire or emergency evacuation drill. Do you work in a place where you have those sorts of drills?
Well, I used to work down in the Loop and then on the north side as well, and then up in Northwestern. And I remember only a couple times at Northwestern and then once at the University of Chicago where we had that sort of thing. So I'm not sure how many businesses still do that sort of thing. But I do know, the great thing about Chicago is, we, because of the nature of the climate here, we build solid.
Yeah.
Our homes are brick and stone. You go down to Texas. Texas is a nice place, but the homes look like, a tornado's just going to wipe them off the face of the earth. Because it's wood and it's a lot of other things, and it's a different environment. I'm not trying to degrade the people who live down there, but in the environment that is Chicago, and also, being downtown, we have a lot of older buildings, and they just don't build like that anymore. It's prohibitively expensive. So my brownstone is probably a century old. It's updated, but that thing's not going anywhere unless it gets hit by a hurricane, which we're not going to get. So I think it says a lot for Chicago.
Oh, I agree. But like I said, Tom Skilling has said it's not a matter of if, but when. And as you mentioned, with the extreme shifts in weather, and yes, it's going to be 60 degrees on Wednesday, just a week and a half out from Christmas, which sounds great. But I'm the kind of person who's like, oh, we're going to get slammed. We are totally going to get slammed in January or February with snow. Does your brain work that way?
Oh, absolutely. You know as well as I do what's going to happen. You're going to enjoy that day. And then I swear, as if it were clockwork, within a day or two, there's going to be 2 feet of snow and a blizzard on the ground. I mean, it just always happens that way. I don't know if there's any science behind it, but that's my experience in Chicago. Whenever you would get that kind of nice day or two, it's followed by something horrible as far as winter weather. But, hey, the thing I say about Chicago is, we complain about the cold weather and the snow and all that sort of thing. But you know what? We don't get landslides. We don't get earthquakes. We don't get hurricanes. So, there's a lot of things we don't get, and I'm willing to live with that.
Me too. That's what I've told people before. I hate going to Los Angeles. I had to go there for work all the time, 1 week a month for about 7 years, and I hated it. But that was the thing. It was like I've never had to live through a hurricane or a earthquake.
Oh, somebody telling you, pack your things. There's a wildfire that's heading this way.
Right, exactly.
In Chicago.
Right.
Yeah. So I love Southern California, but it's every weather anomaly on Earth and every natural disaster. So if the worst thing that Chicago gets is bad winters, I want to live with that.
Yeah. Well, we have other issues, but that's all. It's fixable.
Exactly. Under the acts of God thing, I think we're pretty good.
Yes.
We have other issues. Though.
I agree.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Steve. Have a lovely evening. Talk to you again soon. You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez. The phone number is 773-763-WCPT. Call us and tell us what you're thinking, what's on your mind. And I know that we've got our friends on Facebook. I'm having trouble connecting, and I wanted to say hi to our folks who tune in on our live stream. You can join the great conversation there as well. Great group of people who are really nice to each other. I love our family of listeners here at WCPT. So join us online on our Facebook page, or you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel and find out when we go live. We'll be back in a moment with your calls and conversation on Driving It Home with me, your host, Patti Vasquez.
This is John Daniel, President and Business Manager of the Sheet Metal Workers of Smart Local 265. The principles that guide me are rooted in the simple belief that united we stand and divided we fall. We the people must recognize that a diverse environment with unique points of view is the foundation for success. A culture where labor and management work together inspires innovation, promotes inclusion, creates a sustainable growth for business, the workforce, and our communities. When the entrepreneur's vision is developed and improved with the voice of a unionized workforce, you build more than just a product, you build a stronger future. I want to personally thank everyone who voted for President Biden. He believes in unions. Blue Collar Biden signed the American Rescue Act of 2021, which secures vested pension benefits. It funds improvements of indoor air quality in K-12 schools and provides additional Paycheck Protection Program loans to support small businesses. This is John Daniel from Smart Local 265. Join me in celebrating a return to sanity and a sustainable middle class. Stay union strong.
Hello, fellow progressives. Attorney Tony Moray here. You've been hearing from me for a few months now, and I've been hearing from you. As an estate planning attorney, I get a lot of questions. Estate planning can be confusing and sometimes a little scary. It's my job to guide you through the maze of paperwork, offer you options that best fit your family, and give you some peace of mind. The calls I've been getting from fellow WCPT listeners have been intelligent and thoughtful, exactly the kind of clients I cherish. Thank you for letting me draft your living trusts, wills, and protecting legacy for future generations. In my practice, facts matter, so advertising on WCPT is such a natural fit. Let me help you put together the right estate plan for your family, mindfully. Call me, Attorney Tony Moray, to schedule a free virtual consultation to keep all of us safe. 847-996-0496. That's 847-996-0496. Check out my website at moraylawoffice.com. Moray spelled M-O-R-E-E, and let's put your plan in motion.
We know you're not quick with opinions beyond your tight circle of friends, but that's why people listen when whenever you choose to weigh in.
That's Chris Jones with We Need to Hear From You from his latest album. You can go to chrisjonesgrass.com to find out about all the great work that he does. We had him in the studio a few weeks ago, and I know he'll hopefully be back in the spring on his travels throughout the country as he gets out there and performs. I performed in Wisconsin this weekend, and I had decided recently that I'm going to make this coming Saturday my last show for a while, because we are spiking. Not just in Chicago, obviously we're starting, I believe a 38% increase of hospitalizations since the beginning of December. We are short on ICU beds in many hospitals throughout the state, and I was in Wisconsin and thrown off by really how little regard they seem to have for their own health and the safety of those around them. So I think I'm going to take a break from, I'm going to have a live show this Friday. I'll be at the Laugh Factory at 9 for the 9:30 show. On Saturday, I'll be at Wisconsin for Memories in Port Washington. That's the name of the restaurant there, Memories. And this Wednesday, I'm at Avli. Avli, I hope I'm saying that correct, but it's an amazing Greek restaurant, and we have a show there with Rocky Laporte, Tyler Fowler, and it's a dinner, and I think it's a 4-course meal. It's going to be a lot of fun. So this week is my last week of live performances. I also want to let you know we're trying to figure out what we're going to do for Christmas Eve, but I am going to be live on New Year's Eve, and we're going to celebrate the New Year's Eve at 6 o'clock. And we'll just ring in the New Year at 6, wherever that happens to be in the world where they are having New Year. So that's our plan for the next couple weeks. So if you join us, because I was just looking at a couple texts. I believe Mary was listening on Thanksgiving and said she was grateful for the community online, and she was just messaging me about Jeff Bezos, that he tweeted about the Blue Origin launch before he tweeted about the tornado that destroyed the Edwardsville Amazon facility, and he waited until Saturday night to send out a tweet about it, but only after he received criticism for not doing sooner. And I know he can't be aware of the day-to-day operation. Yeah, you would imagine that the catastrophic loss of life in Edwardsville should rise to the level of talking about it, addressing it, and extending his condolences and saying what he's going to do next. But policies come from the top down. This is just another indication. This is Mary's text. This is just another indication to me that Jeff Bezos is a self-centered, greedy person. It might sound extreme, but I think he has blood on his hands. Thanks for letting me vet. And I was thinking about that too, because we got packages in the mail from Amazon today, and I try to order just certain things, a limited number of things on Amazon, things I absolutely will save. See, and even then, it's painful. So I'm trying to figure out ways and I know there are people who are really good about never ordering from Amazon, and I am one of those who does rely on it more than I would like to. Brian's joining the conversation from Joliet. Hi, Brian. How are you doing this evening?
Fine, thank you, Patty. How are you?
I'm well. Reflecting on what's happening in the world, both here and across the country and other places. What's on your mind?
Well, excuse me.
Yes.
This situation with global warming and climate change, and I mentioned to you before, I have a cousin, retired now, high-level National Weather Service meteorologist, knows Tom Skilling very well, good friends with him. And he says that the main culprits of the situation today, in terms of polluting and the global warming, main countries, United States, China, and India. And I heard a CNN report last week that it was so bad in New Delhi, the pollution, that they had to close down all the schools.
Yeah, the air quality has a really negative impact, obviously, on the respiratory systems of the elderly, of the young. I remember I visited, and my mom is going to be so mad at me, but she took me to Mexico when I was in high school, and when we were landing at the international airport in Mexico City, I had never seen brown clouds. Like there was just this smog even at the airplane level, and a lot of folks have to wear masks in Mexico City when the pollution and the smog is really high. They have days where you're not allowed to drive your car. They alternate because there's so many cars. The population there is so dense that it's one of those places, and it's in a valley, so a lot of that, the smog, the pollution lingers, and it has people get whether it's asthma or other upper respiratory infections, and long-term effects of that. So I'd imagine that New Delhi would be that bad too.
There has to be a political solution, and if I may conclude, this is not a sudden awareness. A poet wrote in 1967, "What have we done to the earth? What have we done to our fair sister? Ravaged and plundered and ripped her and bit her and stuck her with knives in the side of the dawn and tied her with fences and dragged her down." So people knew way back then that we were destroying, humans were destroying, politicians and industrialists were destroying the planet even over 50 years ago.
Yeah, that's. I would imagine that anybody who, especially those who are empathetic or are observant and concerned about, other people. I'm guessing that there are writings. I actually was just trying to Google like the earliest writings about, smog or concerns about that, because I didn't know about the problems in England until I watched the series The Crown, right? When I had no idea there was this period of time when people were dying from inhaling all the pollutants from the coal mines. I was not aware of that.
No, right. I wasn't aware. And how did you do? Wasn't it Friday night when all the tornadoes broke out? How did you fare?
Oh, we were in Chicago. We didn't have any. I don't believe we had any issues as far as safety, and just a little bit. I think some folks lost some roof tiles and inflatable Christmas decorations and things like that. How about yourself?
Nothing happened here, although we did have a tornado warning. I think it was from 10 to 10:30 Friday night. So somebody spotted a tornado somewhere in Will County, but nothing happened in my area. So I was very thankful for that.
Me too.
And, very sorry for all the folks around the country who have suffered, from these recent horrible weather events.
I agree. Thanks so much for joining us, Brian. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, take care, Patty. Thank you.
Of course. And we've got Roosevelt. Hey, Roosevelt, what's on your mind?
Patty.
Mm-hmm.
You scared me. I thought you was saying that there was a last show or something. I misunderstood.
Oh, no, live. I don't want to be. I just feel as though we are heading into not just a surge, but as we go into winter, now we are, we've talked about how this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated, but the Omicron transfer is just so highly transmittable. Like every person that has the Omicron variant will give it to 4 other people rather than, I think it's 2 for the Delta. So I'm really concerned because I have a son who is medically fragile and vulnerable. And I can't, and my mother is 86. I can't afford to bring anything into my home. It's just not worth it for me to do more live shows for the next couple months after the 18th. That's all.
Smart.
Yes.
That's very smart. Hey, listen, you're talking about all these things that are happening with Kentucky and everything, and it's, to Brian's point, even way back when in the 60s, my grandfather used to say, there go those Americans sending them rockets. And I said, "Oh, Grandpa, that's ridiculous." I said, "Yeah, there they go, sending those rockets up to the moon and all that."
Right.
That was, like in the 60s.
Sure.
But he had a point. I mean, maybe not to the extent that he thought, but we are destroying the earth in a way. I mean, the way these cars and
right.
fuel and everything.
Well, and if you think about the massive amount of things that we just throw away, I mean, you see these documentaries on plastic bags and the plastic that holds cans together. I mean, and that's just a couple of things. I was reading about I've been once in a while I go down a TikTok rabbit hole, and I was watching this woman does dumpster diving at Whole Foods, and she'll show you the incredible amount of food that is just discarded and just thrown out in the packaging, and it's amazing to me that we talked to our friend Ryan O'Donnell, who is a vegan and is out there trying to encourage folks to consider how much meat they eat, and obviously he encourages them to stop eating meat altogether. But we're slaughtering animals that are then gone to stores, right, put in the packaging, and they're throwing this out even before the date of expiration. They're just throwing it away. And there has to be a way to figure out policies to encourage these companies. I remember I was at the Museum of Science and Industry, and they had a cafe there, and they were closing, and they just threw away all the sandwiches. And I thought, surely there has to be some sort of system where we can have food pantries or shelters that need that fresh food for that night and give it to people who need it. And I get it that we're only producing food for profit now and not for survival, but anyway, I'm off on a tangent again. Roosevelt, you wanted to say something else before we go to the break?
Yeah, I want to say this. Doesn't it make you feel good that we have somebody that we're in good hands with Uncle Joe, that he doesn't play favoritism, when it comes out to red states and blue states?
Yes.
And when the guy you had there before, that guy we had before,
yes,
if you didn't vote for him, you wouldn't get anything.
Mm-hmm.
Now look what happened in California. A perfect example. He told the governor to rake the
rake the leaves. Yeah, why don't you rake the leaves so it doesn't get all fiery down there? Yeah, that's basically what his response was. Yeah, Paul Rand was saying that all these states with their hands out trying to take money from the rest of the country, and that I'm gonna go off into a tangent. I have to run to the break, Roosevelt. Yes,
and Patty,
yes.
The thing is, even if it was, let's say Biden was like Trump and said, I'm just going to help the Democratic states, he would get grief from the Democrats, from us, myself, right. Because kids are suffering, and I don't care if their parents are Republican or conservative, because kids are involved, and those kids are Americans. Those kids are, they're like, how would I put myself in their shoes, let's just put it that way. I'm going to close it with.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with you completely. That's what a leader does, and that's beyond being a leader, that's what a human being does. They don't select who gets to be helped. Thank you so much. Have a great evening, Roosevelt. I'll talk to you again soon. Let's take a break here. When we come back, we're gonna meet Tommy Caraden, who works with the warehouse workers justice organization. We're going to talk about the Amazon warehouse. I promise to get to your calls. If I can't during our conversation, I don't want you to. If you hang in there, I will get to your calls. More in a moment on Driving Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT Willow Springs is powered by ComEd. Lower your energy bills and reduce your carbon footprint with the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago traffic update.
On Chicago's south side, a car hit a pedestrian and then slammed into a building. 75th Street blocked off between Rhodes and Champlain Avenue. The westbound side of the I-90. All lanes are blocked between Route 23 and Genoa Road with an injury accident. South 355, solid from I-88 to just past Maple Avenue with an accident now off onto the shoulder. North Route 53, bumper to bumper from Dundee on up to Lake Cook Road with a crash on that exit ramp. Eden's in from Lake Cook Road 25, outbound 22 with a crash at Tower off onto the shoulder. Kennedy outbound 18 to the split 16 in the Express, 38 out to here. Inbound from the airport at 44, 18 in from the junction. Eisenhower outbound 46 minutes to 390. Stevenson outbound from DeSable Lakeshore driving out to 355 and 41. That's traffic. I'm Mary DeBadges.
Audible is the best place to listen for everything you're into, from comedy and motivation to popular podcasts and best-selling audiobooks. Right now, take advantage of a special holiday offer and save 60% on your first 3 months. Learn more and sign up at audible.com.
Of all of the performances you'll experience this holiday season, none will match the thrill of driving a new Porsche. At the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park, our entire lineup is filled with stars. The Cayenne, Macan, Panamera, the 911, and the fully electric Taycan. So why wait? Special order your new Porsche today and get the gift that keeps on giving you goosebumps. Season's greetings from the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park. Visit 4Porsche.com, the number 4Porsche.com.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
We know you're not quick with opinions beyond your tight circle of friends, but that's why people listen listen whenever you choose to weigh in.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us on Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez. We've been talking about the Amazon warehouse collapse in Edwardsville, Illinois, and I'm so glad that we have someone that can talk to this specifically. We have on the phone with us Tommy Caraden with the Warehouse Workers for Justice. Hey, Tommy, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing okay. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I know this is a rough weekend. First, before we talk about this tragic incident, this catastrophe in Edwardsville, tell us a little bit about the Warehouse Workers for Justice, because I'm guessing a lot of us are not aware of your organization, and we'd love to know more.
Yeah, absolutely. So Warehouse Workers for Justice, we're a workers' center, and the organization fights for good living wage jobs in Illinois' warehousing and transportation industries. Mm-hmm. So a lot of our work is educating warehouse workers on their rights and supporting workers who want to come together and fight for better working conditions, better pay, and healthier and safer workplaces.
Well, we were talking a little bit ago about how we can't really build an indestructible warehouse, but you can certainly take steps to make sure in the event of an emergency, whether it's a fire or a tornado or, God forbid, an active shooter situation, what kind of safety guidelines do you talk to warehouse owners and workers about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what you said is sort of what we've been talking to workers about. And I think, while a tornado like what happened in Edwardsville, might be a rare or extreme event, disregard for worker safety, it's certainly a chronic pattern at Amazon. And, this sort of disregard for worker safety puts workers, at risk every day. And, there's a whole range of health and safety issues in many warehouses, including warehouses where, we've talked to Amazon workers. We've heard from workers over the past few months and years who've worked at Amazon. We've heard about workers who urinate in bottles because they don't have enough time to go to the bathroom, right? That's a health and safety issue. We've heard from workers who complain about stifling hot workplaces in the summer or breakneck rates, right? Where they're required to keep up with, otherwise they might get, penalized or fired. COVID has run rampant, in a lot of these facilities. So these are certainly, health and safety issues too that we've been talking with Amazon workers about for a long time now.
Yeah, because I was mentioning that I worked in the John Hancock and the Tribune Tower, and every year we would have like some sort of a drill to know what we should do in the event of an emergency, including live shooters. So I would hope that not just Amazon, but anybody that has employees, because what I'm reading now is that they didn't even know how many people were in the facility. Right? That seems like something that they should be organized in the event of a catastrophe.
Absolutely, and that's right, exactly. We saw that statement from the Edwardsville police chief, right, who said that, the actual rescue efforts, right, were hampered by the fact that, authorities, as you say, didn't know the exact number of people in the building because, the warehouse didn't employ a set staff, right? And while, like I said earlier, while these natural disasters are uncontrollable, right, Amazon's preparedness and safety protocols certainly are, right?
Right. Yeah, it seems like something they should be taking into account and people should know. Are there warehouses, are there people that you work with? I mean, are there, not the gold standard, but I would imagine that there are warehouses that are doing things in a way that at least is moving in the right direction. Is that your sense? Do you have, some that you can point and go, look, at least they have a plan in place if something happens?
Sure. Yeah. Well, there are employers that do have good plans in place, right? To account for, even circumstances or disasters, right, that might not be predictable. So yeah, there are certainly employers out there who have plans in place that are better than others. But unfortunately, from what's coming out of Edwardsville, right, it seems like that proper planning, right, isn't something that at least is clear that was something that was done, right, and it should have been done.
Right, and you guys are calling on legislators to do something about this. Have you talked to? Do you know if there's anybody in Springfield that is picking up the ball and going, I'm going to run with this and make sure that we keep workers safe?
Yeah, so, we're still in the early stages of this and still trying to talk to see if there are specific legislators who want to do something about it, right? But
gosh, I hope so. I mean, I would really, I mean, if they're not, I'll make some phone calls. Go ahead, sorry.
No, absolutely, and we're trying to call on those legislators, right, to convene some sort of hearing, right, to ensure that all facilities, right, across the state are safe, right, and we really want to see legislators taking this seriously, so that something like this that happened in Edwardsville, right, it isn't just the first of this kind of tragedy, right, but hopefully it's the last.
Yeah, do you ever think, Tommy, like, how much is enough money? Like, how much money does Bezos have to have that it's worth risking it, or, basically sacrificing the lives of workers? And, we're not just talking about the extremes. As you mentioned, there's health issues at play here as well when it comes to, like, not being able to go to the bathroom. I mean, like, a woman, I can't pee in a bottle. I mean, so that's anybody having to hold on for that long because they have to keep a certain number of deliveries in a certain amount of time. There's a lot of things at play. Do you ever think, like, how much is enough money where you start doing the right thing?
Yeah, well, I think about this often, and I think a lot of the worker leaders that we work with at WWJ, right, have been asking this, especially a lot more during the pandemic, right, as they've seen so many of these corporations make so much more, right, so much more on their backs, right, and I think a big problem is that, kind of growing trend in the labor market is that warehouse workers, like Amazon workers, right, they're so invisible to so many people, right? And I think you click on something, you get it, right, especially now on the holidays, and, you might not see who delivered it, right? And this is why Warehouse Workers for Justice is, this is want to put workers, front and center and let them speak. You really can't have empathy for people you never see or hear from, right?
Yes.
If people knew, right, the cost of next day delivery, right, these workers, bear the cost every day. So yeah, that's a great question, right? How much is enough? Money does it take, right?
Yeah.
It's a great question.
I wonder about this all the time. I'm like, come on. I mean, I get, and you look, we all buy into it. As you mentioned, you click a button and I could have, last night I was shopping for a master lock and it was like, you want this by 5 a.m.? I'm like, no, I don't need this by 5 a.m. What? Why? But we've gotten into the habit of it, and it feels like magic to us, but that magic doesn't happen without the sacrifice of people who are working really hard to make sure that we get that, and at their own expense of their health and well-being. And this is such a tragic weekend, and I'm folks are posting right now about the candle factory in Kentucky, and I hadn't heard the story that they were threatened to fire workers if they left before the tornado. I don't know if that's accurate, and I don't have enough time to make sure that that's accurate, but these are the conversations that people are having. Even if that's not true, people are dying because it's a holiday season. There's this urgency to get everything out there, and I know that you guys have started a fund to you have a fund. You're asking folks to contribute. Tell us a little bit about the emergency relief fund that you're encouraging people to donate to.
Yeah, absolutely. So working in conjunction with other groups across the country who are focused on uplifting and supporting Amazon workers through the Athena Coalition, we're kind of lifting up and pushing out this fundraiser to support the victims' families and coworkers. It's your audience can listeners can access that fundraiser at athenaforall.org/tornado, and we're calling on everybody who can to pitch in a few bucks and really try to support these families in what must be such a difficult time.
I'm grateful for the work that you do. I'm grateful that you all reached out to WCPT to have this conversation, and I think we need to continue to have these conversations so that we're aware of any moment that we can do something to add our support, our resources, to have more of these conversations. The more people are informed, the more we share. And if you have any workers from the warehouses that want to join us, please send them my way, and we will continue to talk about these safety issues, pay issues, all of it.
Absolutely, yeah. We need to keep the discussions going. So definitely.
Excellent. And the website for you guys is www.ww4j.org. Is that right?
That's right. Yep. And then people can also follow us on Facebook at Warehouse Workers for Justice.
Warehouse Workers for Justice. Again, we've been joined by Tommy Caraden from Warehouse Workers for Justice. I wish you a lovely holiday season, Tommy, and I wish it wasn't under these tragic circumstances that we met, but I look forward to conversations in the future.
Likewise. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Have a great evening. More after this on WCPT 820. We're driving it home. I've got Dave and Jim on hold, so if you want to join us as well, 773-763-9278. Back in a moment.
A Better Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
It's safe to say the pandemic changed just about all of our eating habits. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN's chief medical correspondent. Last year, when all of us were stuck at home, more than half of families reported eating home-cooked meals together more often. But another 20% said their family ate fast food more often. That's according to the results of a new poll conducted by the University of Michigan C.S. Mott Children's Hospital. Just one fast food meal often exceeds the recommended fat, sodium, and calorie intake for the entire day without providing many nutrients. A lot of fast food restaurants now do offer some healthier options like grilled chicken nuggets, yogurt, apple slices. But remember, if you're looking to make just one swap to make your kids' meal healthier, think about switching out the soda for milk or water. That'll help avoid that sugar spike. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
Napa know-how.
Right now, a 5-quart jug of Napa full synthetic motor oil is only $19.99. It's the hottest deal of the year for the coldest time of the year. So if you're in your car right now, there's no need to turn on the heat. I'm about to read this sizzler again. That's Napa full synthetic for a hot $19.99. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
At participating locations does not include taxes and fees. Advertised sale price not available in some states. Offer ends 12/31/21.
Panera believes in saying yes. Yes to clean, fresh ingredients. Yes to the new chicken sausage and pepperoni flatbread topped with rich mozzarella. Yes to delicious mac and cheese. Yes to putting it on a sandwich, creating the grilled mac and cheese sandwich. And yes to impromptu road trips to Sandwich, Illinois. Because that's living life to the flavor fullest. Get $1 delivery when you order on our app. Panera. Live your yes. Pricing and product availability may vary. Visit PaneraBread.com.
On January 6, 2021, followers of Trump and something called QAnon attempted a coup at the United States Capitol. Who are these people?
I want to live with the QAnon girl. I could be happy the rest of my life with a QAnon girl. Believer of theory, she leans to the right. She never gets weary of being gullible and white. She's my QAnon girl.
I never get tired of Steve Goody's QAnon Girl from his album What I Did During My Pandemic Vacation. And I know that we've got some folks on hold, so I was going to change subjects and go to the January 6th investigation, but I will follow your lead. Let's see, we've got Dave has been on hold just slightly longer. Hi, Dave in Hoffman Estates. What's on your mind today?
Hey, Patty, just real quick on that, like that unsubstantiated report. I wouldn't doubt it. They didn't let him out. If you remember back about a year or so ago, when those people at the pork producing plant made them work when they were sick.
Yep,
with COVID
I do. Yeah, there were plants. I think it was in Iowa. There were places like in the Midwest where they were forcing people who even showed up with symptoms of COVID. They were forcing them to work.
Yeah, and then them sick supervisors and that were taking bets who was going to get it next and stuff like that. I mean, them dudes should have been fired. I mean...
Oh, that's right. Yes. Oh, it's all coming back to me now. Thanks. Yes.
But, like Mitch McConnell there, you see where instead of eating lettuce, he was eating a little bit of crow there? The president? It's called a turtle, right? But I got to think, I mean, it's sad that happened for all of these people, but wouldn't it have been karma if that tornado would have hit West Virginia instead?
Yikes.
With Manchin?
Yeah, you hate to wish ill on anybody. Right?
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. It's just, I feel bad and sad for all of them, but, the way he's been playing around, with people who... They can't get this, this B cubed, passed, because of him,
Yeah.
And now he would have had to come maybe hat in hand with to President Biden, and then they had, and if, like you mentioned earlier, if President Biden would have been like the previous occupant, he would have made him either pay for it a little bit, and not give him the same amount of money,
Yeah.
Because, like he's only settling on one point, like with the B cube, he's settling on what? He's flipping around like 1.75 trillion.
Right. It's so frustrating. It is beyond frustrating that we have to deal with this guy. Really.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Like you say, but, he's a dino, but he's never going to go Republican because he'll lose that power, and he's such an egotist, like Trump, and that he loves seeing his name. He's the main guy. We got to go through Joe Manchin, but he and so you can get over to the other caller real quick, like the on talking about like the pollution and stuff like that. I remember they used to have in the late 70s, and they had to hold in the ozone and that because of the CPCs and that, and then
acid rain. Do you remember? I did a science project in grade school in 1983 about acid rain.
Right, and then the talking about like in Europe and when they had all that coal burning, the snow was black.
Yep.
On the roofs and that, and then speaking of black, they had I don't know if you ever watched Vice, but a couple of years ago they had an episode. They were over like in Antarctica and talking about the global warming, and it was then ice caps or whatever, they were melting at a faster rate than they planned, and all the while they were doing, you could hear this stuff just splashing, into the water and stuff like that, and then just like rivers and stuff, melting.
Yeah, we broke the planet.
On top of that, and they were looking. There was this black flecks all over it. That's why it was absorbing the sun.
It was heating it up faster.
Get off so you get to the others.
Thank you so much, Dave.
All right.
Have a good night.
Be well.
You too. Take care. And then Jim, we've got Jim on hold. Once I do that. Hey, Jim, what's on your mind today?
I'm just thinking of Jimmy Cartier. I used to call him Jimmy Cartier. He's my favorite president. He had solar panels on the White House in 1978.
Mm-hmm.
He was going to have single payer health care. I loved his brother Billy.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's absolutely. When you go back 500 years from now, we're still on the planet. We haven't killed ourselves by then. He'll be looked at as one of the best presidents we ever had. It's just a shame that they maneuvered that the hostage situation and Reagan got in.
Mm-hmm.
But what's scary about Reagan is the thing that kills me about that was he was like a B actor, And
you didn't like Bedtime for Bongo? We didn't like.
One time for Bonzo. But I did have a friend who used to go to the racetrack every night. Say, "Well, how could you vote for this Reagan?" He goes, "Jimmy, he was good in King's Row before he had his legs cut off. He was good at that."
Oh my God! Anyway, hold on, before you move on, because I want to go back to the racetrack real quick. What was your favorite track?
All of them. I used to work at Hollywood. I worked at Hollywood Park when I was going to college as a kid, and
yeah,
I was hooked on the horses the first time I went to the track.
My dad, my dad used to hang out. He used to take me to Arlington and Maywood and Hawthorne. We'd go.
That's the routine. Yeah, that was the routine. Yeah, that was the routine.
You might. I wonder if you ever crossed paths with Larry, the cab driver.
Oh, sure. Yeah, but are you kidding? My God, I had 50 years out there I spent at the track.
Yeah, Larry was I don't know if so my dad would always my dad hated the Cubs. He grew up over by
I hate the Cubs too.
Maybe you guys were leaning on those counters looking at your options, looking at all the handicaps. Is he a good mutter?
Yeah, when the Cubs lose, that makes my day, But anyway.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
No,
go ahead. It's funny about the track because I had like 65 first cousins. I was the only one that was hooked on it.
My dad was too.
I was sitting with my grandmother one day. She said, "Jimmy, in Ireland, my father was never home. Her grandfather was never home." I said, "Where was he?" I called her mother. I said, "Where was he?" "Oh, he was at the track. He was following her." So it must be some genetic link up, with the track. You know what I mean? It's got to be because
something.
Yeah. But anyway, back to this pollution thing.
Yeah.
it's just a disgrace. We're going to be buried under an avalanche of money. I mean, nobody's going to admit that. I mean, this was a weather event that should have been mitigated. In December, tornadoes. I'm not saying you could predict it precisely, but these weather events. I mean, these fires and weather events and so on and so forth. We've got to get this bill passed, this $2 trillion bill, and get our hands around keeping our species in one piece.
Well, we need to be better prepared for this extreme weather as well. I mean, it's one thing to, really go in, all in on doing the best we can for climate change, but also in many, so much of this is already too far gone. We are going to continue to have water levels rising. We're going to continue to have these massive storms. That tornado, they say, is one of the largest it's ever been recorded. So it's...
Germany and Spain had 2 floods that were, Noah Ark kind of floods. I mean, they never happened there. Old towns that have been there for hundreds and hundreds of years are flooded.
Yeah.
Spain had a terrible flood. Germany had a terrible flood. But anyway, we could do something about it. We just got to use our noggins, and...
somebody has to
right now.
Yep. Somebody has to.
Daddy. Yeah, but I think of Carter very family. I think of him very family. He was a better president. People give him credit for.
Me too. I agree 100% with you, Jim.
All right, take care. Thanks, Amelia.
Take care. Bye, Jim. And Cal from Orland Park. Hi, Cal. How are you doing?
Good. You'll get my letter about. I'm going to have to add another piece from my book in a later letter to you, but you'll get my letter talking about things Greek as soon as I can get that in the mail. I just ran you copies today.
Okay.
About Steve, was that Steve from the Gold Coast 25 minutes ago?
It was.
Yeah. Now, he's operating on some old ideas. He's talking about Orange County and DuPage County. They are both changed.
Okay.
Where's the representative covering Orange County? Who is the one covering Orange County?
Orange County, California?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not that. I barely know most of the legislators in Illinois. I actually don't know all the legislators. It's a lot of people to know.
I think I know more nationally than
oh, I see.
Than I do in Illinois. Yeah. So, and of course, we threw out the old Republican from DuPage County already 3 years ago.
Yeah, a lot changes.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'll be on the lookout for your letter. Thank you so much, Cal.
Right. Yes.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I want to make sure that I go back to the story that we were talking about as far as this candle factory in Kentucky. And yes, NBC is reporting that the employees, at least 5 employees and as many as 15 workers were begging managers to let them take shelter at their own homes, only to have their requests rebuffed. Fearing for their safety, some left regardless during their shifts. They didn't care about the repercussions. 8 people died in the Mayfield Consumer Products Factory, which makes scented candles. The factory was leveled, and all that is left is rubble. And here's the thing: they were sheltering in the bathroom for quite a while, and once the sirens had stopped, they basically were like, "Oh, it's all safe now. It's all good to go," and they were tragically 8 people lost their lives in that collapse of that factory as well. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, folks, in the on the Facebook Live conversation. See, if you join the Facebook Live conversation, if I don't get to it, they've got a lot of great thoughts going on back and forth there. I want to thank Lady B for everything today. Always great to see you, Lady B, and everyone here at WCPT. Coming up tomorrow, we are going to have a candidate for Cook County Sheriff. She's running against Tom Dart. We're going to have a Carmen Navone. You know what? I'm gonna feel she's like me. She has 3 names, and I'm not always great with remembering all 3 of them. But Carmen's going to join us tomorrow. She's a candidate for Cook County Sheriff's Department, and we're going to have a great conversation with her to find out about her career and her bid to become the next Cook County. That's Carmen Navarro-Jercon. I want to make sure I got that right. And she'll be here tomorrow. And coming up on Wednesday, we're going to have Deputy Mayor John O'Malley to talk about public safety. So that's I I'm getting ahead of the game for once, everybody. I finally figured out all my emails here. I got to figure out all the docs. So that's some of the shows coming up this week. I hope that you all have a lovely evening. Please get out and enjoy some of the warm weather. Sadly, it's probably because of extreme weather, but still, enjoy it while you can. Have a great evening. The Devil's Advocate is up next. Bye, everyone.
This is the sound of the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program, saving you money and